Today I am going to be making some snacks. So my family and I are going on a kind of long road trip tomorrow, and I wanted to make some things that we could just eat in the car. When we travel, we try to limit how much eating out we do, just because it adds up fast to feed 6 people. And so it's a whole lot better if I can make things at home and then take them with us. So I was looking through, getting some ideas, and I have 3 different recipes that I'm going to try to put together this afternoon, just so we can have in the car. It always makes life easier. So I have 3 different recipes that I'm going to be making today, and one of them I have made before. The other 2 are completely new. So we'll see how it goes. So let's get started. So the one that I am starting with today is homemade goldfish crackers. This is one that I have seen a lot of different people try and has always sounded really, really good. Sounded like something that would be right up my alley, and just had never done it. So that's what we're gonna try. Now, I did not go out and buy goldfish cookie cutters, so these are going to be goldfish cracker squares. But that's what you do when you don't have the ideal thing and you're just making do. And so anyway, I'm starting out grating this cheese, and I learned something new this time. This is actually my first time to use the food processor to grate cheese. Normally I just use the old-fashioned flat cheese grater, and I just decided, since I had the food processor out, to use the cheese grater in it to see if it actually made my life any easier. And I quickly discovered that next time I will just use my old-fashioned cheese grater, because by the time you grate the cheese, you have to take it all out of there to be able to put the other blade in to mix and then put it back in. I thought, man, I should have just done it the old-fashioned way. But anyway, so I'm starting out grating cheese. And then I'm going to add this cold butter in. I'm just cutting it up into little bitty chunks, and then it'll blend in. And this is one of those recipes that you're supposed to mix up and then allow to chill for, it said, at least 20 minutes. So this was early in the day. I just had a few minutes, so I decided to go ahead and mix this up and get it stuck in the refrigerator. And then knowing that I would come back to it later in the day to actually make the crackers. So anyway, so adding some salt there and some garlic powder and onion powder. And I will also say, as I'm mixing this up, so obviously this was a little while ago when I did this, when we went on this trip. And these crackers, they were not the biggest hit. They weren't bad. They didn't taste bad, but they didn't really taste like goldfish, for one. And my kids weren't real crazy about them. So this was a neat experiment, but this is probably one that I will not be repeating. If I want to try goldfish again, I will try a different recipe. So anyway, just mixing the flour in now. And then when you mix it together, you'll see in a second, you want it to look like, basically like wet sand. And so once it blends together, I blended together the dry ingredients and then went back and added some water to it. And like I say, you want it to look like dry sand, and then you're supposed to wrap it in plastic wrap or in saran wrap and put it in the refrigerator for, it said, at least 20 minutes or all the way up to a whole day. I did this, it was probably in the refrigerator for a couple of hours. I think next time if I try this type of recipe again, I'm not going to refrigerate it, because it was a really nice consistency. I'll show you a close up here in just a second. It was a really nice consistency right now at this point. And once I wrapped it up and put it in the refrigerator, see how it's kind of clumpy, but once I squeeze it together, it does stay together. And I think it would have rolled out really well. But I did what the recipe said. I chilled it. And as you will see here, as I take it out and try to roll it out, I had a rock hard piece of dough that I ended up having to allow to warm back up. I had to let it sit on my countertop for a while because it was so hard that there was no way I was going to get it rolled out.
after I had allowed it to sit for a little while, I was finally able to roll it out and do what I needed to do. But I think, again, like next time I will try not chilling it and see what happens. I wanted to also come in here and apologize for the footage change. I know it looks a lot different on your screen when you're watching it. I was trying to use my camera to film this video, my real camera, and I made it this far into it and then it glitched, and so I had to start using my phone again for filming. So that is why this has changed. I apologize for the inconvenience when you're watching it. But that's why it shifted. So I'm still learning the technology part of it. I'm just using the equipment that I have, but that's why that changed. So as I rolled this out, I just cut it up into some squares. They were about 1-inch squares. The oven needs to be preheated to 350 degrees. And then these will bake, I believe it said, for about 10 to 15 minutes, going to depend on your oven. You want them to get just a little bit brown on top, but not too much. And then you want to be sure that they cool completely before you put them in a container. That way they stay crunchy and they don't, any moisture that is trapped in there is going to end up making them soft again. So that was those. And next I am moving on to one that I have made in the past that we really like. And it is a peanut butter protein bar. And this is made starting out with some natural peanut butter. You want to use one that doesn't have any sweetener added to it. We use, all of our peanut butter now is just a natural peanut butter. It has no added oils, no sugar added to it. It is just peanuts and salt. And it is different from what you're used to. If you're used to buying Jif peanut butter or Peter Pan or whatever the normal name brands, but we like it so much better. It tastes like peanuts. And so we're using that peanut butter. I'm going to add some honey to it. I was at the bottom of the jars, bottom of my container of honey, so had to open it up a little in different way there so I could scrape the bottom of it out. But you're going to add the honey to the peanut butter, or you can use maple syrup here, and then it's going to have vanilla put in it as well, and protein powder. The recipe calls for vanilla flavored protein powder. I did not have any in the house. What I had was just some unflavored pea protein powder that had been sitting for a while, and decided that that was what I wanted to use. So here in a minute when I add that, it's just a plain protein powder, and it worked just as well. I don't know that I would want it really any more vanilla than what it was. I think for us, the unflavored was a good solution. But you're going to mix up those ingredients just in the bowl. It's going to get to kind of be really thick. I will point out that when you're working with the natural peanut butter, it is a lot thicker than the ones that have the oils in them. And so you want to make sure that that the peanut butter in your jar is mixed up really well so that you don't have the dry, hard chunk at the bottom of the jar. So when you're making something like this, you want to make sure it is more runny and mixed together well. Once you get the peanut butter stuff mixed up, you're going to put it into a dish to chill. It does not bake. So this is just going to go in the refrigerator for a little while. And I use some wax paper. I have also made it before with parchment paper. This particular recipe, it doesn't really matter because I'm fixing to put some chocolate to pour over the top of it, and it is warm, but it's not super hot because it's going right on this peanut butter mixture. Probably the smarter thing is parchment paper because the wax is going to come off a little bit in your chocolate, but that's me learning lessons as I'm going. And so the next part is the chocolate. I'm going to melt about 3/4 of a cup of chocolate chips into a saucepan with a little bit of coconut oil. And the coconut oil just helps as the chocolate melts, keeps it from burning, and helps it be easier to mix and the consistency be nice. So that's the function of the coconut oil. You really don't taste the coconut. It's just there to help the chocolate melt down nicer. So you're going to let that melt, mix it up, and then it is going to get poured over the top of that peanut butter mixture. And this was so, so good. Like I said, I made it for this trip. And then, as I said earlier, I had some camera issues. And so this recipe had to go back and remake so that I could get this footage for you all. But I didn't mind it a bit because it's so good. Everybody was so excited to have it in the house again. And so it's definitely been a win. So once that chocolate was melted, I'm pouring it over the top of that peanut butter mixture and just kind of trying to make sure it goes on there evenly. It's going to go in the refrigerator for a couple of hours until that solidifies. And I think I might have even stuck this one in the freezer just to get it good and hard so that I could cut it up. But that is all that it takes. That one is super easy. And then you can just take it out once it's hard and cut it up into pieces and put it back and keep it. And you store that one in the refrigerator. The last recipe that I made for this particular trip, and again, this is filming it the second time because my camera footage didn't work the first time. But anyway, again, I didn't mind making this one again because this was another big hit. This is a chocolate peanut butter crunch bar. And I am all about chocolate and peanut butter together, if you can't tell already. And so this was one that I was excited to make the first time and was very excited that I had an excuse to make it again. So this one is super simple as well. I like it because you dirty one pan. You don't have to have a mixing bowl. You just have one pan that you make it in. It is 1 cup of your natural peanut butter again, 1 cup of chocolate chips, 1 cup pretzels broken up, 1 cup Rice Krispies, or Rice Crisps, whatever, rice cereal, and 1 cup chopped nuts. And I am going to use walnuts in this case. Some of these nuts in this bag were a little bit bigger chunks, and so I ended up using this food chopper to break them up so they would be smaller pieces, so it'd be easier for us to eat. This is a Pampered Chef food chopper. This not sponsored by them, just adding that. If y'all have ever looked up or heard of Pampered Chef products, they are pretty handy. Some of them are really neat gadgets for the kitchen, and this is one that I use, like I say, when I am cooking using nuts and things like that. Next, I'm going to add in pretzels. One time when I made this, I used the pretzel-shaped pretzels, the curly-cued ones, and then this time I used the pretzel sticks. It was just what I had in the house. Works fine either way because you're going to break them up with your hands, and then, of course, you're going to be cutting the bar into pieces. So any bigger pieces of pretzel are going to get cut up with the knife when you end up cutting the bar in the end. So anyway, it really doesn't matter what kind of pretzel you add. This is what my pan looked like so far. This is one I've learned by making it twice, that when you're at this point, it looks really thick and you think it's never going to blend together because you still have to add the pretzels. You still have to add the Rice Krispies or the Rice Crisps. But it does work. Once the chocolate gets fully melted and it all gets blended together, it does turn into a really nice consistency. So just trust the process there. So here is the rice cereal that I am adding to it. I keep calling that Rice Krispies, but that's not what a Rice Krispie is. But anyway, so that is the last ingredient to go in there. Mix it up good. Let the chocolate melt. Let it do its thing. Really doesn't take very long to put this one together. And then I'm going to put it in a glass dish. I'm using a 9x9 pan here. Again, I would recommend using parchment paper rather than using the wax paper because I learned the hard way that this is warm enough coming off the stove top that it's going to melt the wax on the wax paper. And yes, we ate it anyway. It's okay, but I know in the idea of trying to be healthy, consuming the wax off that wax paper probably isn't the best thing. So learn from my mistake. Use parchment paper. It works better. And it's a little bit stiffer too, so when you go to peel it off when it's cold, it comes off a little better as well. But anyway, so putting this in there, it ended up being about 1 inch thick, so it was really nice for a granola bar sized thing. And this I put it in the refrigerator and it had to stay overnight to get completely solid. You could probably do it in the freezer for less time than that. But this is definitely one to make the day before you want to eat it. That way it has plenty of time to harden so you can cut it up. So this is the finished product on that peanut butter protein bar coming out of the freezer. It, say that hardens really nice. You can cut it up into whatever size. Again, this one is a big hit. This is actually my husband's favorite. I had a lot of fun making these snacks this time. Snacks are not something that I normally make for us. I cook all of our meals and stuff, and we honestly don't eat a whole lot of snacks. We eat a lot of fruit and things like that. So I'm not usually making snack type foods, but this was fun. It was nice to do something different. The kids enjoyed the change. My husband enjoyed the change. One of those things that I need to remember to do more often. I'm turning these upside down in that pan because I was afraid that the peanut butter would stick to the glass because it had warmed up just enough from me cutting them up. But anyway, that's what those look like. Big hit. I was a little bit impressed with this Crunch Bar, not just the fact that it tastes good, but because the peanut butter is in equal portions with the chocolate, it's not all that sweet. The protein bar actually does taste sweet because it has the honey in it as well as the chocolate on top. So it actually is a sweet treat. But this one I feel like is more of a true snack because the peanut butter and the chocolate kind of work together and it's not as sweet. So that was a pleasant thing for the health side of it, not just feed my kids a bunch of sugar, me just not eating a bunch of sugar. But anyway, this was a really great way for us to have some snacks for the road, good way to save money. We like to even pack lunches and things like that so they don't have to eat out. And I hope y'all enjoyed this. Try some of these recipes and let me know what you think. See you later, guys.